over 7 million different animals inhabit our planet.
In India, I met farmers whose crops have been literally washed away by historic flooding. In America, I have witnessed unprecedented droughts in California. In Greenland and in the Arctic, I was astonished to see that ancient glaciers are rapidly disappearing, well ahead of scientific predictions. All that I have seen and learned on my journey has absolutely terrified me.
So the question now is whether we will have the courage to act before it's too late. And how we answer will have a profound impact on the world that we leave behind, not just to you, but to your children and to your grandchildren. As a president, as a father, and as an American, I'm here to say we need to act.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
All right, welcome to the All Creatures Podcast. This is Chris.
And I'm Angie. I'm back.
You're back. I mean, I love Jesse. Jesse's awesome. I'm actually going to see Jesse tonight. We're going to go see a movie. But, you know, it's good to have my old partner back.
Well, I must admit, I felt a little pressure, a little healthy competition. He was a funny, awesome guy, and very knowledgeable, very passionate.
Yes.
So, but a little healthy competition always keeps me.
Yeah, but
keeps the fire lit.
he's a handsome looking dude. You know, he's got a nice beard going, but you know, at least you don't have your beard today, so
no beard today. But I do have lots of fun stuff to talk about in animal conservation.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Some of it I was like, don't let Jesse cover this because it's my baby. I wanna spread the news because I'm super excited about it. So you boys were on good behavior and you listened to my request. So yes, you'll stay tuned and hear me talk about some exciting news.
He can come back. He's great.
Oh,
He's
yes,
great.
yes. I have lots of travels planned, so I have to. I've got to be nice to him. He'll definitely have to cover my bum some later on this summer.
Yeah. So, just to jump into it, I really wanted, that's why it was great having Jesse and getting a different opinion. But of course, you and I talk this every week, so I love to get your take on things.
Sure.
And I just wanted to follow up last week with mammoth, and even my friend Jonathan and I are going back on Facebook. You know, he was talking about how mammoths could benefit other species, and I could see it, but it's just overall, there's no way they're ever going to take a cloned mammoth and reproduce thousands of them, much less in our lifetime, but in a few lifetimes.
Where are they going to put them, Chris? Like the elephants don't even have a safe place right now. I mean, some of them do, but they're fighting for their safety where they live in Africa and Asia. So yeah, where?
Okay, so these Harvard researchers are working with a sort of Jurassic Park in Asia.
Okay.
In Russia. So there is a park that's set aside to protect like Przewalski horses and some of the other species that are there. Mm-hmm. Now, they're proposing to whenever they do end up cloning this mammoth, which I think they will, this hybrid. So. It's not even going to be a mammoth. It's going to be some elephant with long hair, I think. But they're supposedly going to start putting them in this so-called park. But here's the thing. When you start cloning, you're starting with a number of N of 1, in science. We talk about one animal, one genetic line. So there's no genetic diversity. There is so many problems with that as far as trying to establish a herd.
It's like inbreeding on steroids. So if you think about medical issues, diseases.
Right.
Yeah, deformities.
So there's all these things to take in consideration. It's a grand idea. So it's like, I could write a whole book on this, And I work, I know, I'm going to work on my blog post because these are all the things that you have to think about. It's not just, hey, let's just make a bunch of them and stick them out there in a protected reserve. It is, plus 22 months gestation. I mean, 2 years.
Sure.
And cloning, has like a 99% failure rate once you do have a confirmed pregnancy. So it's not like it's, this technique that works really well. Anyways, the reason I bring that up is because there was another article this week. Mm-hmm. Scientists in Australia are closer than ever to bringing extinct Tasmanian tiger back from the dead. So, this was the talk that Jesse and I got in last week, Angie. De-extinction. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did you just make up that word?
No, it's
okay.
going around. It is.
Okay,
it is going around. Actually, Jesse and I linked articles back and forth this week because it's de-extinction as far as taking these species that are extinct and bringing them back.
Sure, yeah. I guess, of course I am fully aware of the mammoth and that project being taken under, but yeah, the Tasmanian tiger surprised me. I guess I didn't realize that there was that much commitment. Or I suppose that much funding. I think
right.
I think that's what one of the things I struggle with is the money that is going towards this, that could be going towards other things, and not just necessarily like conservation per se of a specific animal, but conservation of land or education of people around parks. There's just conservation receives such little funding in general, and I think you should throw up on the show notes sometime some of those statistics that we have of like out of all the funding that's given away in grants, either federally, locally, state, or by private industry, a very, very teensy weensy small fraction of it goes to conservation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if these guys are pulling money from that pool or maybe it's privately funded. I guess I'm not completely educated.
I would imagine,
on that.
I would imagine some of it is, or a lot of it is probably privately funded.
Okay.
So part of what I brought up last week and what I truly believe after being in science for so many years and trying to, we stick our hat out like, please fund us because we have no funding to pay for grad students or pay for animals or just pipettes for the lab we have to pay for. That's not provided by the university. So I think what this Harvard group is doing is saying, oh, we're going to help climate change. Oh, we're going to help Asian elephants. So they get some of that private money that's out there.
Yeah. Maybe.
And so that way he's funding his project. So that's what makes me angry. Like last week I was like, because what they propose is bunk.
Right.
It won't happen. It won't happen.
Well, and not only that, I guess even putting this out there, like you said, it most likely won't happen. But even putting it out there, I just don't want to send the wrong message of like, oh, hey, who cares if the northern white rhino goes extinct because we can de-extinct it or whatever that word is that you use.
Yep.
It sends a very inappropriate message of the capacity to do that, or people might think they're like, oh, well, who cares? Like whenever there's time, we can bring them back again, and that is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
So that's that's the other thing when I was mulling over it when I was walking the dog, just really thinking about all the different angles, and I just think that people that aren't super into it, like me and you, and like reading every article or really trying to understand this stuff, that just hear stuff in passing, they're like, oh, well, scientists can just bring them back.
Right, and it's not that easy.
It hasn't. First of all, it hasn't been done.
Well, we did. So for 15 minutes, right? Remember the Peruvian ibex, right? We did de-extinct something, Angie, but it only lived for 15 minutes. It took a few breaths and died.
So there you go.
So again, so then, and that it had only been extinct for 5 years.
Right.
Okay. So it wasn't like it'd been extinct for 100 or 10,000 years, like a mammoth. So so it's interesting. Tasmanian tiger, just their history, that they think about, what was it, 2,000 years ago, they pretty much went extinct in mainland Australia, or nearly extinct, because the Aborigines.
Right.
But there was a healthy population on the island of Tasmania, which is just off South Australia. And then in the 1930s, they finally went extinct completely. So there are videos, and I'll put some of those links in the show notes, of an actual Tasmanian tiger alive. So, looking at, I would be more apt to support something like that went extinct 100 years ago than something that went extinct, thousands of years ago.
Yeah. And then my only, really trying to see the whole big picture and not totally let my biases influence conversation completely.
You can have an opinion.
But I was thinking from the animal's point of view is that especially with the Tasmanian tiger, perhaps slightly different than the mammoth, is they went extinct due to human activity, human hunting.
Exactly.
So there's a small part of me that's like, oh, maybe from a moral standpoint, perhaps if we have the technology and funding or private funding, maybe we owe that to them.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Nick Mooney, who is a well-known Australian wildlife biologist, in the article, and I looked up some of the things that he said, and he basically said the proposed cloning is clowning. He calls it clowning. He's like, it's not. He says that some of the biotech we're developing can be beneficial.
Sure.
But, so that's the science aspect. Yeah, discover, do it. But don't come out and say, oh, we're going to save the planet by cloning mammoths. Just stop lying. Stop lying. And it really does a disservice to science.
It does.
So.
And that's the thing, is science is obviously under attack in many realms. And so, anything that heightens that or over-sensationalizes things is not a friend of ours at this point in time.
No. Anyways, we could talk about it all day. But there you go. And we'll keep looking. I'll keep my eyes to the cloning field because it hasn't really moved much in the last 10 years. It's been pretty stagnant as far as discovery and what they've done. So, which is fine. I mean, it can be beneficial, but it's not the silver bullet for sure.
Yeah. Well, and before I get to what I'm dying to share with our listeners today, and of course, just chew the fat on with you about exciting news for rhino conservation. I am going to save that, and in the meantime, just talk a little bit about another wonderful feel-good story about the golden lion tamarin, which I hold near and dear to my heart. A small, beautiful primate from the Brazil, South America region, and it's how I started my whole zoological career. I did an internship studying their behavior and collecting their fecal droppings for hormone analysis.
Angie loves poop.
I love poop.
Angie loves poop. That's where it started.
It goes way back to the 90s, my friends. Or actually circa early 2000s. But so so the golden lion tamarin, anything about them I'm always reading about. And for the golden lion tamarin in Brazil, it took about a decade of hard work, but one of the most important wildlife corridors is emerging from some of the fragmented forests along the coast of Brazil. So we all know the Amazon obviously is being deforested at a bad rate. High rate. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But the golden lion tamarin was nearly extinct 30 years ago. But researchers, the federal government, international groups got together and worked in zoological institutes. I was at Zoo Atlanta studying them, working with them, got together and have really, really helped to increase the numbers for golden lion tamarins. And so this project is an initiative of the Golden Lion Tamarin Association out of Brazil, and then the U.S. nonprofit group called Saving Species. So we got to get a hold of those guys. And then also a grant from a Dutch foundation called DOB Ecology. So very international there, right? Different multidisciplinary groups working together. And they basically understand that, the golden lion tamarin is beautiful red mane. It's an iconic species. And people have loved, it's not, people have loved, working towards saving it from extinction. But with all these fragmented forests, it's hard to mix genetics because there's a small group over here, a small group over there. And of course, the infrastructure of Brazil is booming. So what do? Well, you put in a wildlife corridor. And what that is, there's all different kinds, but the plans for this one, I believe, go over a major highway. And these nonprofits have been working together for about 10 years to acquire the land and to restore 50 miles of forest between the two federal reserves. They've planted tons of species of trees. So just really a lot of hard work from these different groups to connect some isolated populations that will hopefully start to intermingle pretty soon. And the other thing, too, is the golden lion tamarin is, of course, iconic and a flagship species. But by connecting, these different areas, these different forests, you're also going to help out tons of birds and reptiles and other mammals as well. So it's just, it's just really cool news.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good news because it makes me think too when you're talking about that. There's so many different threads to conservation and working with different organizations, NGOs, different nations around the world. So when you think about human progress, like, I don't know, the reason that it just comes up is I just finally finished Planet Earth 2. And I'm angry that I didn't watch it finished it before we did hyenas.
Oh.
Because at the end, the last episode is animals in cities. And they have the hyenas in Ethiopia being fed by the locals. So you have to watch it. Anybody, if you've not seen Planet Earth 2, jump it to the top of your list. Not The Handmaid's Tale, which we're starting tonight, according to Ashley, or some of these other shows you watch. Put Planet Earth 2 on there.
Back on the buzz. What is I don't.
The Handmaid's Tale,
Yeah.
the whole
No.
Go Women's movement. Oh God, we were talking about it last night. Like it's a good dystopian show that's out there.
All right,
So
I'll put it on my list.
Season 2 is out. Yeah,
I'm struggling, if I'm lucky, with one episode a week of Stranger Things 2. But
yeah.
So
I know there's so many.
No,
But anyways, but they were. I was gonna say Planet Earth 2. The last one is cities.
Sure.
Oh my God, Singapore! We got to highlight Singapore in a future episode. What they're doing there, greening the city.
We need to go there. That's what we need to do.
Yes. But building these apartment buildings with trees and it's incredible. But the hyena one was really awesome because the hyenas going into the city. They go to the meat market and the guy brings out the bones and throws them the bones, and they're habituated to that every night. So finding solutions though, right?
Sure.
So in Brazil, with the golden lion tamarin, they're finding ways to cohabitate or cohabitate together because the wild is gone or is pretty much all gone.
I think
most of it's gone.
It's too naive to say like, you can't use these resources or whatever it is. That's probably not the best way to win the war on wildlife. I think it has to be working together and making like solutions that benefit not only the animals but the people too. But it got me thinking. I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome for the golden lion tamarin. They're my little buddies. I go way back. They helped inspire me to be where I am today."
Yeah,
but
that's good.
Yeah, and so, but then the scientist in me, I started thinking, okay, well, do these? I'm sure these corridors help, and I mean they're better than nothing. But I wanted statistics, like, okay, how have they worked in the past? I didn't have time to dive into it too much, but I just started looking here locally in Florida, and I was looking more in wildlife crossings because so much of Florida, that's not the Everglades, is inhabited by people, and we do have a lot of cool wildlife here. And so I just asked the question: do wildlife crossings actually save animal lives?
Help. Yeah.
And so interestingly enough, I found some information that just in Florida, so every state probably has their own statistics they could look up, but here in Florida, there's over 60 wildlife crossings or bridges that can either go over or tunnels and go under busy areas to link to forest partitions together. And for Florida, they were more aimed to stop panthers from being struck by cars. That was probably the species they were targeting. But with this being done, panther deaths by vehicle collisions or car accidents have been extremely reduced in areas where there's crossings or fencings to basically, they work kind of cool. They put fences up to funnel the animals. Because I'm like, well, how the heck is the animal going to know to go under the bridge or over the bridge?
This way,
But they put up high fences as barricades to basically funnel them into the chute. And they there's cool pictures of black bear in Florida going under these in these tunnels to cross under a highway or whatever. And so I do think, it seems like they definitely work. And so it'll be really interesting for the Golden Lion Tamarin to see if with these wildlife corridors, if now they can spread some genetics, if the population increases. So yeah, it'd be
cool behavior study. There you go. There's another one. Anybody want to fund Angie's trip to Brazil?
Man, I would love to do behavior again on Golden Lion Tamarins because I was just starting. So I remember being so nervous, like, oh my gosh, is that a grooming behavior?
Yeah.
Is that a? I'd be like, oh no, they're just pooping or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. It'd be cool to like set up little cameras and see how many cross per day or per month or whatever. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get to some of the feel good stories, especially rhinos, this story is a little bit sad and just again showing some of the pressure that some of these species are experiencing. And the headline on this one is Chinese giant salamanders being eaten into extinction. And the poaching basically in China is threatening the world's largest amphibian because it's a delicacy in this luxury food market. So the Chinese, I looked it up a little bit, Chinese giant salamanders are nearly declared extinct. They think they're extinct in the wild. They can't find them. It's the world's largest amphibian at 140 pounds or 64 kilograms. So they're just huge, and they're being eaten because they're yummy, I guess, to some people.
Well, it's probably it might be cultural, or it might be a sign of status quo.
Or status, like, hey, I'm rich and I can afford this luxury meat. Yes.
So I mean, and it's hard to say whether it tastes good or not because obviously different people have different palates. It's just
it's true. It's true.
It's just a shame in this day and age that, regardless of either culture or delicacy or the money to buy it, whatever it is, that people would eat an animal to extinction. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, drive it all the way.
And the other thing, and so of course, in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense from a moral or philanthropic point of view to do that, to eat an animal to extinction. But I guess if you like to eat this animal, it doesn't make sense for you to eat it to extinction because then you won't have any. Like, it's kind of... That's kind of not good planning.
Well, they're being poached, or some farmers, they think, are keeping them, and and it's like, we go back to the vaquita porpoise and that bladder of the tataboa fish,
yes,
I think
exactly.
it is. Yeah, and so that's a delicacy in China, and then what $20,000 per swim bladder. So
man, I just want to get these people hooked on like heirloom tomatoes or something. Come on.
No, blueberries. Michigan blueberries
would be that. Talk about a delicacy. All right, hard to get, very rare. Only comes out like a few weeks.
One farm,
your
farm,
a few weeks out of the year. That's just, geez. Yeah. I mean, I think people, you look a lot cooler eating, gorgeous, healthy blueberries or heirloom tomatoes than you do eating an endangered animal. That's just goofy.
Yeah, lately rose apples for me, so I've been eating lots of apples.
Yum. We eat an apple a day.
So anyways, we do, we want to bring the feel-good stories, but we have to keep it real too, because there's a lot of these stories out there.
Yeah, I mean, and just as one species may be being consumed to extinction, ridiculously so, a really cool conservation product out of Florida is that Saltwater Brewery, which is a craft brewery in Delray Beach, Florida, is developing the plastic rings, that cover a 6-pack of beer or a 6-pack of Coke or whatever. They're developing rings with a startup group called E6PR that are made of wheat and barley and can easily dissolve or potentially even be eaten by like sea turtles.
Awesome. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know what, Ange? When you and I started this a few months ago, we started talking about plastics and, it's such a big problem. It's really picking up steam. Like in popular culture, I think it just today, it came out a few hours ago, Chile banned the use of single-use plastics and banning plastic bags. So
way to go, Chile. Love
Yeah.
it. They grow great blueberries, and I've been there.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful country, big, long country. But yes, I think, Chris, it'll be interesting if we save these podcasts for like our children. But I feel like I think we're going to call the year of 2018 of people's wake up or movement to stop single-use plastic or think of clever alternative ways. Like, how long has sea life been tangled in these silly plastic six-pack things? I mean, of course, when I used them back in the day in college, I would still cut them up and all that. But still, people are saying like that, like, let's just get rid of it. Let's think outside the box. And I salute this brewery. I'm going to have to check them out next time I'm in that area. And this company that they're working with, because they still need to test it, and it's not commercially available yet, but 2 thumbs up. Like, hopefully it will be. And that's, thinking outside the box, putting wildlife, and the oceans first. And that just makes me really happy after your salamander story.
No, it does. And people are waking up. So, some of the other feel-good stories that I had written down, that's good. Last week, we talked about the vanilla bean wars in Madagascar. Mm-hmm. So one of the stories I came across was actually, not the war itself, because that's a problem, but in Madagascar, they're finding that lemurs are actually moving into these vanilla bean farms and doing great. They're actually doing really well. Yeah. So the lemurs, it cocoa plantations too. So it got me thinking, like the bats, how bats are beneficial. They think the lemurs are beneficial by eating insects that could harm their plants. That there are no instances of the lemurs harming any of the plants or anything like that. And they're actually settling in. And so if you can find some way to have sustainable, production and support wildlife at the same time, it's a win-win, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not eating the vanilla or cocoa beans?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not part of their diet, and they don't hurt the farmers at all.
Well, that is not a lemur I could relate to.
I know. That's what it says.
But I'm very happy to hear that they're not doing that, because it reduces the conflict, and I think as correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was reading it said that a lot of these crops are being grown with shade, so shade-grown crops, and which is a more
it's more of their natural environment, right? So
the shade-grown, the shade-grown is more it's more sustainable. It's a more sustainable way to do this, to grow these crops. It's a win for the crops. It's a win for the wildlife, and yay, go lemurs.
Yeah. That was a good one. So, they're doing okay, and it's good, finding solutions. And again, that's what, for our listeners out there, we're all doing our part, right? And that's what we want to do.
Yes. And Chris, as I was prepping for the podcast and just thinking about conservation and what people are doing for animals and what success stories are out there, and of course, stories that maybe aren't so successful. But I've always, in the back of my mind, ever since I've been old enough to talk about wildlife, I've always thought that anybody that has some kind of star power, I don't know if that's the right word, or celebrity, I guess would be a better word. Has popularity, right? People like them, people listen to them, people follow them, especially now with social media. I've always been a big believer that, gosh darn it, these people should use it for good. Their power,
their platform,
good. Their platform, and of course for me, that's always like help the animals out,
right?
And we're starting to see more and more stars or celebrities emerge as conservationists. And my buddy, Leonardo DiCaprio, my conservation crush, she's always doing awesome things. I'll be talking to him about him and some of his awesome things he's doing in weeks to come. Don't you guys worry. But I wanted to, I don't know if I'll be able to do it every week, but I wanted to try to focus on people that are using their platform in a positive way for animals, because let's be honest, we all get a little Google-eyed when we see a certain star or we hear them. And of course, we probably follow some on Twitter or maybe in the news or Instagram or something.
Instagram, I'm following a few of our friends, and they've got like over 1 million followers. I'm like, holy crud.
Well, so I guess if I can work on this segment, it'll be good for you because I am on a mission to keep finding celebrities that do good for animals. So I'm extremely ecstatic to report this week that I think I have a new conservation crush. Actually, two of them. This is two people working together just for amazing things. So just recently, I think it was on May 23rd, so not that long ago. Ashton Kutcher, he's a doll face. He surprised Ellen DeGeneres with $4 million. $4 million. I don't know how many that is in New Zealand. What do you guys have? Rands? What do you guys?
No, we're dollars. That Rand's South Africa. And it's not the British pound. It's New Zealand Kiwi dollars that... Yeah, about 1,000 of them to every American one. That's how bad we're doing right now.
4 million American dollars would be how much New Zealand dollars?
We could buy the country for that. No,
there you go. You could buy a couple
for our Kiwi
sheep.
listeners. I'm kidding. Yeah. You could buy all the sheep for that, Angie. No, we're like 60 cents of ours to your dollar. Like, you can afford. Yeah, come visit. You'll do. So
a little over 2 million, then, right? Is that what that?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Is that my math
4 million is probably like 7 million Kiwi dollars.
I went the other way. Sorry, my math. It's late at night here.
Yeah.
Maybe cut that part out. I just graduated. Never. I swear I can do percents.
Never. I leave that fun stuff in.
Anyways. But no, on a more seriously awesome note is, he donated $4 million to her wildlife foundation. Awesome. So they are both my new star crushes because he donated to her his own money. And also Ellen DeGeneres, I'm going to start stalking her. If you're out there listening, Ellen, get ready for it. As well as Ashton, because I know she's a huge animal fan. My husband actually met her years ago in Chicago. She was doing something with our zoo there, and she wanted to go behind the scenes, and he gave the tour.
Awesome.
Yeah, but he didn't put a plug in for me at that point. I think we had just started dating. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, he said she was really awesome, and of course they didn't talk too much or whatever. But I know she's been in love with animals. But just recently, her partner Portia de Rossi basically gifted Ellen with this wildlife fund that the goal is to permanently secure the future for wild gorillas in Rwanda by building on successful conservation efforts, employing people living by the gorillas. And now they have an extra $4 million. So, I mean,
it's good because, in politics.
It brought her, they surprised her, and it brought her, to tears, genuine, from the bottom of her heart.
I heard she's really
She
a
basically said,
person.
that's what John had said when he met her. But she said if she wasn't doing this talk show, she would be doing conservation work for gorillas. And now she gets to live that dream on the side.
Do it.
And so, but I was just like that. And we'll have to put the video on the show notes, but it's super cute.
Yeah.
And that's
she's an amazing woman.
Good people doing good things, and what a platform to do it on, right? Probably who knows how many watchers they have of the show that are all suddenly were like, gorillas over Rwanda, so that it also served to educate people and excite them. So
celebrities have they're incredibly influential. Whatever their politics, anytime they step into the realm and start helping with animal conservation, like what Leonardo's doing is amazing.
Yeah,
and it helps.
Watch out, Leonardo. And Leonardo, you got some competition, buddy.
And they make a lot of money, selling movies and product endorsements, all that stuff. And so to turn around and give $4 million, that's Ashton Kutcher, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah, just to give as a gift, but he obviously believes in the cause too. So
and the gift, I believe the gift was through an app that he is works on too. So so I don't know if I'm not sure if it's directly out of his. I mean, regardless. It was something he has to do with, and I think it was just an amazing surprise. And that's what the world needs more of. Like, those are tears of joys. I want those every day.
Yeah. So here in New Zealand, it's the Queen's birthday this weekend. So we have
happy
Monday
birthday,
off.
Queen.
Yeah. So we'll be celebrating that this weekend. And it just made me think of the Prince William and Kate. Princess Kate, they're both very big rhino conservation, things like that. So
awesome.
You promised
some of my heroes.
Yeah. So they do a lot for wildlife and conservation. So what's the rhino story that you promised?
So exciting, Chris.
Yeah. What's going on with the rhinos?
Well, there is a confirmation of a pregnancy of a white rhino in San Diego.
Yes.
That's not super exciting news. The historic news is that it was through artificial insemination, which is not easy. I've done it in cows and horses, and it's just really exciting because this is just big. And I know people are like, oh, it's not that big. It's done in humans. It's done in, you guys say you do it in horses. But for a wild animal, it is to be able to get the techniques down. It's not like you just go ahead and do artificial insemination.
Yeah.
There's a lot of preparation into actually timing it to know when to put the semen in there and the technique and how to do it. And all of this has to be done through training so the animal will voluntarily accept these procedures. And so it's just
a lot.
Well, and it's very exciting for San Diego that this female white rhino, her name is Victoria, that she's a southern white rhino, and that she's pregnant at their safari park in Escondido, California, is because the San Diego Zoo researchers, which you and I we can discuss on maybe a different day or time, but they're hopeful by getting her pregnant through these techniques and working with her and learning more about this process and if it can work or not. Researchers hope that someday she could potentially serve as a surrogate mother that could give birth to the almost extinct related northern white rhino. So, which population is basically down to the two females. The male we've reported on
Sudan.
Yeah, he passed away. So, and there's 1,000, and they're not 1,000 steps. They're many steps away from that. I mean, more like even 10 years out if they're even successful. That's maybe a different topic for a different day. But from my perspective, I've actually had the privilege recently getting to ultrasound my first rhino.
Right.
So that was a big day for Angie.
Proud moment.
I know. I sent you pictures. Yeah. I was pretty cheesy with my little jumpsuit on and
I loved it.
my hand up a rhino's bum. It was like the best day of my life.
Hey. Yeah.
Some people like to go boating. Others like to ultrasound rhinos.
I want to ultrasound an elephant, but God, it's like so far up there. But yeah, it's great. It's big news because it's not only, it's the female side and you have to get her all synced up with hormones and make sure she's ovulating and all that stuff to time it right. But it's also the male side because that's what, like Danielle's doing with elephants. We can't preserve their semen. So it's great news that they were able to successfully preserve the male gametes and then thaw them or however they did it, and then inseminate the female and have a confirmed pregnancy. So that's big news for rhinos.
It's huge.
Big news.
It's huge. I mean, it is still a little early. It's still early on. But they said that they ultrasounded her the other day and they thought they saw like a digit. And rhino carries rhinos pregnant for anywhere from 16 to 18 months of gestation. Of course,
it's a long time.
She'll be monitored closely. But it just gives me hope for a lot of the other southern white rhinos, not even considering the northern white rhino aspect, but for the southern white rhinos, as far as being able to, like you said, from the male gamete side, being able to ship semen from state to state or overseas in order to diversify genetics, which is really crucial when populations are so low.
Yeah, it's like going back to the mammoth. When you start with one, all the clones are going to have the same genetics, and so really what you get concerned with is not only inbreeding, which leads to a lot of genetic abnormalities. I'm looking at you. I'm not going to even say the state. Somewhere near Florida. Yeah, they keep winning football games. Just kidding. But it's inbreeding's bad, and then disease resistance.
Sure.
Like you need a diverse set of immune genes, because one disease, you don't want it to wipe out all of them.
Right.
So,
well, and in white rhinos too, living under human care in North America and southern whites, that sometimes individual females aren't reproducing very well. So this way too, it can help make sure that potentially help them if they are having problems with their cycle by learning more about how to sync them up and what exogenous hormones to use. So there's a lot of really, really good things to come from this. And I was tickled pink. And it was perfect timing considering like the story broke like the day after I had, I got to do my ultrasound.
Ultrasound. And I know that's what they're kind of doing with what you're working with. So we'll keep tabs on it.
Yeah.
So Angie, I found this my species of the week that we found. And let's go back to China, and I want to give some kudos to them, because China is doing a lot. Some of the stuff that's coming out of China isn't the best, but they are fighting for wildlife. Like they're working on banning ivory. They're working on some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And they have really good scientists. Yeah, I mean they're doing a good thing with science. So they have discovered 30 new species in the depths down at the Mariana Trench, the ocean depths. So they found this thing. This one was kind of a cool highlight. It's called a ratfish.
Oh.
So it's this fish that's blind and has these big ears. And it's just bizarre
You're not
looking.
selling me on its
so I'll post it.
But
no, it was cool. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. But again, it lives down near these sea vents, sea mounts, these deep sea vents, which is really insane science biology. Like we think light produces life, which it helps. It does help produce life. But here you have the crushing depths of the ocean. No light reaches it, and you just have life proliferating. So this is why they think on like the moons of, I think it's Titan is one of the moons. They think there may be like microbial life on there.
That'd be cool.
That they use the heat as the energy source. That's what gives them life, right? The heat from these sea vents. Anyways, you have this blind fish with big ears down there. They discovered it. 30 bunch of new species. Who knows what's down there in the ocean? Like just crazy stuff.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Well, Chris, I have a mammal I wanted to talk about, but I actually found an insect that's way more fun.
Yeah, like the emoji bee we covered last week.
I like to have fun. So yes, there's been a new species discovered. It's called the exploding ant. It's a type of exploding ant. It's aptly named Colobopus explodens, which previously nicknamed yellow goo for its bright yellow gland secretions. And this new species is particularly prone to self-sacrifice when threatened by enemy arthropods.
Oh, wow.
Or even researchers, which is quite interesting. They basically can rupture their body wall, and which causes imminent death during and it releases a sticky, toxic liquid from their enlarged glands, and the goal is to kill off the enemy to hold them off, so the other worker ants can come in and protect the colony. So
that's funny. Ashley and I, when we talk about if I ever could go back and besides, I would probably just focus on conservation biology. I mean, I love reproductive biology, but I think I would more do ecology. But I said if I ever studied insects, it would be ants. Ants are so cool.
Yeah,
they're so amazing.
Ants. I don't know. Ants, bees.
Bees
Xander's
are cool.
really into ants right now because one of the superheroes is Ant-Man.
Okay.
So I'm learning a lot about ants, but I haven't shared this one with him, but I think I might.
We can maybe we haven't covered insects yet. I don't know if you and I are comfortable. We'll see, but I love ants. Like there's just so many cool species of ants. They're amazing.
Well, Ashley has to know somebody we could talk to that would know about ants.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's tons of great people, and ants are they're amazing. You social insect. All right, Ange. Well, the listeners, thank you for sticking with us. We'll be back Tuesday with the new species. We have a big interview next week that we're releasing on Thursday.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I know. That was a good one for Angie that Angie did. So we'll make that announcement on Tuesday's pod on our next species, and then we'll be back next Friday with this new segment and keep talking conservation.
Thank you for listening.